Hello, welcome to episode 131 of Cameron Sports Podcast. This is your host, Cameron Lindsay. I'm back with a brand new episode. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the college football week 7 recap and news updates from last week, and plus some news that happened this week. So let's get right into it. Not going to waste no time. So Penn State head coach James Franklin has been fired this week after their loss to Northwestern at home, 22-21. This comes after Penn State's third straight loss. They lost to Oregon in overtime, 30-24. They got blown out by UCLA on the road, and they lost to Northwestern at home. Now, James Franklin's buyout was about $50 million plus dollars. This is the second most in college football history behind Jimbo Fisher. For those you know, Jimbo Fisher, a former Florida State head coach, national champion. Left Florida State, went to Texas A&M, gave him $100+ million contract for 10+ years. He brought, he had a lot of great recruiting classes, but never could win, never could get over the hump at all, really. And they let him go. His buyout was $70+ million, still getting paid now to not coach at Texas A&M at all. So this is the second largest buyout in college football history. Some other bad news for Penn State. Quarterback Drew Allar suffered a season-ending injury in the loss to Northwestern. Former head coach James Franklin, who was still the coach at the time, announced after the game that Drew Allar will be out for the rest of the season. Now, I'll say this. Do I agree with the firing? Yes and no. And the reason I say yes, because I think it was time for a change. He's been there, 12+ years. James Franklin's a really good coach, one of the best college football coaches in all of college football. Him, Dabo Swinney, when Nick Saban was still here, him, Kirby. So he's one of the best, but he just never could get over the hump, never could really beat teams. I think it said the last time James Franklin beat a top 10 ranked team was I think it was 26, somewhere between 2014 2016, when Ohio State was number 1, and it was playing at home against Ohio State. I think that was the last time Penn State beat a top 10 team. But for the most part, for 99% of James Franklin's tenure at Penn State, he has failure to beat teams that are just as good as his team, maybe a little bit better, but he just hasn't been able to get in them. And until last year was the first year of the 12-team college football playoff. Before that, it's 4 teams. He finally got in. Before that, Penn State always fell short to making the college football playoff. Back when it was 4 teams, they never could get in because they'll lose to Ohio State, they'll lose to Michigan, they're losing the Big Ten championship, so they'll fall just short of missing the playoff. Now they went to 12 teams. They actually did good last year. Coming away 1 game short of making the national championship, losing to Notre Dame. Drew Allar threw a crucial interception that wasn't really completely his fault. I'll say that. But I just think, even I said it to myself during the offseason. I said, if James Franklin doesn't win or at least get to the national championship, it may be Penn State might consider moving on. It might be time to move on from it. Maybe. I know that. And because think about it. Ryan Day's a great coach, to be honest. What the media do to him last year? I even said it on here on my podcast. I even agreed with everybody. Stephen A. Joel Klatt. Well, I don't know if Joel Klatt said it, but people like him. In the media, in the professional media, ESPN, Fox, all that. And most of them feel like if Ryan Day don't win a national championship and he loses to Michigan again, he could be gone. Now, granted, he did lose to Michigan again, but once they got in the playoff, they went on a run. They blew out Tennessee at home. They blew out Oregon in the Rose Bowl in the second round. Third round, they beat Texas. And then they beat Notre Dame in a close, good game. So he finally did it. And it looks like Ohio State probably going to win back-to-back this year. I'm not going to lie. I think Ohio State should be favorite. I think they're clearly the best team in the country. seeing them dominate Illinois. And I'll get to that in a minute in my notes. But yeah, they look like they about to repeat potentially, and it's really hard to repeat as national champions in college football. The last team to do it was Alabama in 2011 and 2012. That was the last time a team repeated. No, my bad. Stop. Correct myself. Georgia was the last team to do it when they beat Alabama and TCU. But, look at Georgia now. I don't think Georgia's going to win a national championship this year. Those teams were stacked because they had people like Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Mikael Williams, Keely Ringo, Malachi Starks, and of course Stetson Bennett. So that Georgia roster was stacked with guys that are now in the NFL. So yeah, it's really hard now. And like again, do I think it's the right move? No, but at the same time, it's like all good things got to come to an end. Like, look at Barry. I think what's his name, Barry. I forgot the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I forgot his name. He had a lot of great moments for them. But when Jerry Jones became the owner, the first thing he did was fire the coach, because even though he won Super Bowl title championships, but lately he wasn't doing anything. So it was time for a change. And I think even for James Franklin, I think it's time for a change, because it's like you kind of losing your players. Like I said, you losing 3 straight to UCLA. Like, come on, that's bad. That's down bad. And it sucks. And of course, Drew Allar, like Penn State, I'll agree, was one of the most disappointing teams this season. Penn State, Texas, with the 2 top, Clemson, because all 3 of them was ranked in the top 10, especially Texas and Penn State. Them 2 was ranked in the top 5. Clemson was top 4 also, I believe. And Texas was the #1 team in the country. So I thought Penn State was favored to win the Big Ten because you got Drew Allar, who's potentially the #1 overall pick in next year's draft, definitely a first rounder. You got the best running back tandem in college football with Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Both had I think 1,000 yards last year. Had 1,000 yards. You got a first-round corner, A.J. Harris. You got another first-round pass rusher potentially on your team. Like, there's no, you hit the transfer portal, got new receivers. So I'm like, okay, there's no way Penn State should not be one of the favorites to make the college football playoff, national championship. There's no way, and it ain't been that way at all. Very disappointing. I get losing to Oregon because Oregon's a great team. You got Dante Moore who's playing like the best quarterback in all of college football. He looks like he's going to be a first-round pick if he decides to declare for the draft next year. But like I said, this sucks for Drew Allar season. I don't know how it's going to impact his draft stock, because, you're going to be drafting. Like, I know J.J. McCarthy, but he got injured after he got drafted during training camp. So I don't know how it's going to fare for a quarterback. Is his draft stock still first round? Would it be late first round? Early second round? So, because you draft him, he not going, most likely he's not going to play all year. And that sucks. But I think James Franklin definitely going to find another job. I think definitely some schools that can use him. Like I said, potentially maybe somewhere like a Florida, out of Billy Donovan. Or Auburn with Hugh Freeze, which I'll get into in a minute. It's just crazy. But another coach that got fired, Oregon State fired their head coach Trent Bray. Also, UAB fired head coach Trent Dilfer, former NFL quarterback. Oregon State, 0-7 a couple years ago. They was actually pretty decent. That's when they had DJ Ugangale. I think he should have stayed, but he transferred to Florida State. That's another story. UAB, I don't know too much about their situation, but I mean, I saw something about some comments Trent Dilfer made, so maybe I could see why maybe he got fired. But yeah, it's Penn State, Oregon State, UAB, Arkansas, UCLA. Am I forgetting somewhere else? Yo, I know I said it in my episode. Arkansas, UCLA, Oregon State now, Penn State, Virginia Tech now, Virginia Tech. I think obviously the best Oklahoma State. Obviously the best job from those 7 I just said is Penn State. I think it's Penn State. The second best would probably be Virginia Tech. Third one, maybe Arkansas, potentially because that's the SEC. Like, I don't know about Oregon State, UAB, and, Oklahoma State. But Penn State is especially, for sure, the best job. I know they got candidates that looking at, like, maybe Nebraska's head coach, and Scott Frost, not Scott Frost. I'll remember later, but yeah, it's sad to happen to James Franklin, but I just think maybe just for a new culture, a new change. Look at Alabama. The first year it was rough last year, but now they're doing good. And without Nick Saban, like we thought after that Florida State loss, like yeah, Alabama's going to be in a dark time. They're not the same. Technically, no, they're still not the same Alabama, but they're now starting to find that new culture. They're starting to gravitate around Kalen DeBoer, and he's recruiting his butt off. He put in some really good recruiting classes up. This next recruiting class that's coming up, in class 2026, is really, really good. Got some good players. Speaking of Alabama, Alabama defeated number 14 Missouri 27-24 on the road. Quarterback Ty Simpson had another good game. He went 23 of 31, 200 yards, 3 touchdown passes, no picks. I predicted I didn't make the episode on camera, but I made a post and / tweet about it on Facebook and Twitter, and I said I got Alabama win this game easily. I was wrong about easily. Like, ended up being a really good game. Missouri is a good team. They just might end up in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. You never know, because the SEC, everybody's beating each other up. So they just might get there. You never know. Because I feel like Ole Miss and Texas A&M, I know they're ranked higher, but every year it's like they always lose to a team or two that they posted that they should beat, and then they end up choking and not making the playoff or making the SEC championship game. So I think Missouri still has a shot. But Alabama's on a roll now since they lost to Florida State. I ain't gonna lie, that loss does kind of look bad because Florida State now losing 3 straight and now turning back into frauds. But other than that, Bama is rolling. The tide is rolling. And I think Ty Simpson is playing himself into a first-round draft pick for 2026. I know that's crazy. I didn't see this coming at all. This is what I think I like about evaluating players for like the draft, because you never know who's going to come. Like Dante Moore, I didn't see this coming. I'm not saying like I thought Dante Moore was not a good quarterback. I think he is, from what I've seen in spring or what I heard. And Ty Simpson, the quarterback battle at Alabama, I was like, okay, he might do okay. Like, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over. It's Alabama. You got Ryan Williams. You got Jeremy Bernard. You got Jam Miller. You got some talented players. So as long as he don't turn the ball over and get the ball to them, he'll be fine. That's what I thought of Ty Simpson. But he waited his turn behind, like I said, Bryce Young and Jalen Milroe, and it's paying off. He's the lead leader in passing yards at Alabama and passing touchdowns. He only has 1 interception that came last week against Vanderbilt in the first half. And since then, he had a clean game. And I think he has some key throws in this game against Missouri that ended up helping Alabama get the win. And he's doing a really good job. I think if he leads Alabama, I think he could lead Alabama to the college football playoff and give them a chance to win a national championship. I really believe that. Now, I don't think they should be favored. I think that's Ohio State. But at kudos to Ty Simpson, I think he is one of the best college football quarterbacks in the nation right now. Now, him, Dante Moore, Fernando Mendoza, the transfer quarterback from Cal that's at Indiana. He had a huge win on the road against Oregon. And speaking of that, like I said, and that's the next thing I want to talk about. Indiana is a legit team after beating number 3 Oregon on the road 30-20. Again, I didn't film this episode, but I made a post and tweet about it. I said I got Oregon winning against Indiana because it's hard to beat Oregon at home in Eugene with that crowd and that noise, with them playmakers. Because Oregon's been really good, coming off a big win against Penn State on the road. DeCorian Moore, Dante Moore, Mateo Ugangale, and their defense playing well. But Indiana was physical. They legit. I know last year they were, I guess you maybe could say frauds because they was beating up on weak teams. And then when they got to the playoff, they got beat up by Notre Dame. But this year, I think Indiana is legit. I could see them making the Big Ten championship game and facing Ohio State. I thought it'd be Penn State, but it's looking like it's going to be Indiana versus Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. Like Indiana, they blew out Illinois. They put almost 70 points on Illinois. And then they come back and they put 30 on Oregon, only give up 20 points. Because we know how Oregon's offense be. Oregon offense is explosive almost every year. Literally every year. And I was real shocked about this game, man. Fernando Mendoza played well. Like I said, he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Maybe he could potentially be a first-round pick because I don't expect Arch to come out. I don't know how Drew Allar's draft. I think Drew Allar's draft stock's probably going to drop. So that leaves Dante Moore, Ty Simpson, and Fernando Mendoza. Like, them 3 quarterbacks right there. You know, teams going to need some quarterbacks. The Jets, the Saints, the Browns maybe. I don't know with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur because this seems like they're not going to play Shedeur, but that's another topic. But yeah, I think Indiana's a legit team. If you don't think it is a legit team, you're crazy. They beat a top 25 team, Illinois, badly. Put up almost 70 points on them. They put up 30 on Oregon on the road. Not at home, on the road at Oregon. There's no way that Indiana's not making the college football playoff. If they keep it up like this, they're making the college football playoff. Even if they don't win the Big Ten, I think they still get in as a one-loss team. Now, for the best team in the Big Ten and the nation, number 1 Ohio State is clearly the best team in the country, like I said earlier in this episode. They have the 2 best players in the country on their team on offense and defense. Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs at safety. And they got the best defense. I didn't think Ohio State's defense would be this good because they lost Jack Sawyer. They lost, I don't know how to pronounce the other dude's name. But, you know, they got Caleb Downs, but I think Ohio State's defense, even Joel Clark said before the season starts, it's going to take a step back because of the players they lost to the NFL. But, you know, but they're still doing good. Like I said, on offense, I know Julian Sayin, he's a redshirt freshman, first year starting, but it's like he's getting better almost every week. He got really good weapons in Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Jeremiah Smith clearly is going to be a first-round pick when he goes pro in the 2027 NFL draft. Carnell Tate might be a first-round pick or at least a early, mid-second-round pick if he decides to go pro in the 2026 NFL draft because he's a junior. So, but yeah, they're clearly the best team. They defeated number 17 ranked Illinois 34-16 on the road, not at home, on the road. So they clearly dominated Illinois from the start of that game to the end of that game. I watched it. I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna be a good game because Illinois is playing at home. They got all these one of the most returning starters in the Big Ten. So they're facing a redshirt freshman quarterback. So they can get pressure on them. They could make it a little bit harder. Still dominate. Jeremiah Smith didn't even have a great game up to his standards. He had like 4 or 5 catches for 40-some yards and only a touchdown. So he didn't even go off. And Ohio State still dominated this game. Forcing turnovers on Illinois. Dominating, not giving up touchdowns. Ended up winning this game. Clearly was the best team. Now for a team that clearly is not the best team, the Auburn Tigers. They fall to 3-3 after a 20-10 loss to number 10 Georgia. And I believe Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat. I don't think players believe in him. And I say that because I was at work I'm on my phone, y'all, scrolling. I see a post, and it's one of their star players, running back and captain Damari Alston, quit and is no longer on the team. This ain't a regular player, bench player that just gets a little bit of playing time or don't start or walk on or something. None of that. A running back and a captain, Damari Alston, quit no longer with the team. I watched the press conference with Hugh Freeze, see what more he says on it, but he's not on there. I think it said that Damari doesn't believe, in the team or Hugh Freeze's direction of it, and I think it's true. I think there's some players in that locker room that don't believe, and I just think that I feel like one or two things gonna happen. If Auburn ends up not making a bowl game, he's gonna be gone. Cause this is I think his third year there. He went 6-7, 6-7, something like that. Only 6 wins, and you get your third year, and then you miss a bowl game, or let's say you get to 6-6, you get to the bowl game and you lose again. He's out of there. You gotta go. And I think if that happens, I think Auburn and Penn State will clearly be the 2 best jobs available. If Florida job probably can come available too, so that could be 3. But I think Auburn's jobs are going to come available. I can see it clear on the wall because this is his second time in a row that he's got a poor quarterback out of the portal. First, it was the transfer quarterback Peyton Thorne from Michigan State. Clearly was bad, can't play. Then now you got Jackson Arnold. I was like, yeah, I like Auburn's weapons, but I just don't trust Jackson Arnold because at Oklahoma, he was not that good. He didn't even play against Auburn. He was benched. They started a freshman quarterback against Auburn last year because Jackson Arnold wasn't that good. I understand some players transfer and they resurrect their career. Bo Nix did it. He's a perfect example. Resurrected his career. He was average at Auburn, but went to Oregon and got better and raised his draft stock to a first rounder. Now he's a starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Right now, with Sean Payton as his head coach. So it happens, but I just think that these players just are not gonna believe in him. I think the fans don't for sure. I really don't. You're 3-3. They started off in the top 25, but now they falling short. Lost to Oklahoma, lost to Texas A&M, lost to Georgia, and that schedule's not going to get any more easier. I just don't think the only way he saves his job, they're going to run. I think you got to start Deuce Knight, the freshman quarterback, the 4-star. You got to start him. I think there's nothing you can lose. See what you have, start him. Jackson Arnold is just not it. We're going to get a spark, see how it is with Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton. You got 2 great receivers. You got multiple great receivers. Perry Thompson, another 4-star, 5-star receiver. You got so many talented players in that roster, it doesn't make any sense, and he's not taking advantage of it. I'm seeing somebody as talented as Cam Coleman. I'm like, he should be getting the ball more because I think he's just as talented as Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith. But he can't get the shine he deserves or show what he got because of the poor quarterback play and the poor play calling. At all. Come on now. And to be honest, I'm not gonna judge Cam at all if he transfers. I'm not judging him at all because you gotta do what's best for your career and to get to the next level at all. And if they fire Hugh Freeze, unless they bring in somebody like James Franklin, then he may stay, but even then they may not because players, depending on the coach, his coaching style, do they fit? That happens. But yeah, that's just a lot going on in the college football world, y'all. James Franklin getting fired, more coaches getting fired, Indiana beating Oregon on the road, Alabama and Ty Simpson looking great. So I'm definitely looking forward to another week of college football this week. I'm gonna definitely make my predictions, another episode for that. But like I said, I hate to see it to a great coach like James Franklin because he is. But like I said, some great things, all great things come to an end, and it was just time for a change. And And hey, if I got fired, $50 million to not coach. I seen a post. It said, imagine having the best job in the world where you get fired and paid $50 million to not do anything. That's crazy. I wish so, because shoot, I'll take the rest of the year off unless I get a job offer from Auburn or Florida State, or maybe an NFL job if you want to try to go pro. But now it doesn't work out usually half the time for coaches, unless you're like Jim Harbaugh. I think he's the only person that has had success in the NFL and college that I can name, like right off the bat, that's had success. Well, Pete Carroll, that's another one. He had success in college. So Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh are the two coaches that right now in the NFL that have had success on both levels, won national championships and been to Super Bowls or won a Super Bowl. Them two right there. But yeah, I just think that unless somebody like I said, Auburn, Florida State, or even Clemson, maybe a Dabo, because we don't know. Clemson still their season is like this, so you never know. Something can happen with Dabo. Clemson, if something happens with that, let them schools call me. If I'm James Franklin, I'm chilling. I'm leaning back in my chair, chilling, getting paid $50 million. So I wouldn't be tripping. But yeah, that's all I want to talk about as far as college football Week 7 recap and news updates. If, like I said, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think James Franklin, deserve to get fired? How do you think who's going to be the next head coach for Penn State Nittany Lions? Like I said, what do you think of Alabama and Ty Simpson? Do you think Indiana is legit? Is Ohio State clearly the best team in the country? And do you believe Hugh Freeze is in a hot seat at Auburn? Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm all ears. I definitely try to reply every comment, even if it's just 100. I'm definitely gonna try to reply. But if you want to touch down with Cam, click that like button, click that subscribe button. More importantly, because I feel like I can get to 300 before the end of the year. We got 2 more months. I can get there. Let's get there. But more than anything, I appreciate you always watching. This has been your favorite host, Cameron Lindsay, of your favorite sports podcast, and I'm going to catch y'all next time. Y'all take care.